whispers beneath the olive tree. In a quiet village nestled along the coast of southern Italy, where the hills rolled like waves and the scent of olive groves hung gently in the air, there lived a girl named Emilia. She was a painter, known for capturing the village's serene beauty on canvas, the sun-kissed rooftops, the emerald sea, and especially the old olive tree that stood alone on a hilltop overlooking the village. Emilia's heart, though full of color and light, held a quiet longing for love, for someone who saw the world the way she did. Every morning, she climbed the hill with her sketchbook, sat beneath the olive tree, and painted. It was her haven, a place where the wind told stories, and time seemed to pause. One summer morning, as she painted the early mist over the sea, she noticed someone standing by the edge of the hill. A tall man, with a leather notebook in his hand and a lost look in his eyes. He turned, noticed her, and offered a gentle smile. "Is this your tree?" he asked. Emilia laughed softly. "I like to think so. I come here every day." He introduced himself as Luca, a writer from Rome who had come to the village to escape the noise of the city and find inspiration. His voice was deep, his words carefully chosen, like he was writing even when he spoke. Day after day, they met beneath the olive tree, she with her brushes, he with his pen. They shared stories, dreams, silence, and slowly, something unspoken began to bloom. Emilia found herself sketching him without realizing it, the way his eyes lit up when he spoke about poetry, or how he tilted his head while listening to the wind. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in gold, Luca asked, "Have you ever painted the olive tree in full bloom?" She smiled. "It never blooms. It just endures. Like a quiet guardian." He looked at her then, eyes full of something deeper than words. "Some things don't need to bloom to be beautiful. They just need someone to see them." The summer turned to autumn. Luca's notebook filled with pages of Emilia, the sea, the olive tree. And her paintings were no longer just landscapes, they were full of emotion, of something alive and glowing. But as the first leaves fell, Luca received a letter. A publishing house in Milan wanted to publish his novel. It was everything he had worked for, but it meant leaving the village. Leaving Emilia. On his last night, they sat beneath the olive tree in silence. The stars were bright, but the world felt heavy. "I'll write to you," he said. "And I'll paint you," she replied, though her voice trembled. He leaned in, touched her face gently. "This place, this tree, it brought us together. Maybe one day, it'll bring us back." And then, he was gone. Seasons passed. Emilia kept painting. She never stopped climbing that hill. Some days, she waited. Others, she simply listened to the wind. Then, one spring morning, 5 years later, a letter arrived. No envelope. Just a note, pressed between pages of an old book someone had dropped off at her studio. "Meet me beneath the olive tree. I've written the final chapter. L." She ran. Heart pounding, hope blooming like wildflowers. There he stood. Older, maybe, but exactly the same in all the ways that mattered. In his hands, the book, dedicated to her. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. She stepped into his arms, and in that moment, the olive tree, silent for all these years, bloomed. Cherry blossom whispers of lavender, cherry blossom. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills and endless fields of lavender, there lived a girl named Alara. She was known for her quiet grace and the gentle way she tended her grandmother's flower shop, petals and dreams. Every morning, Alara would walk through the lavender fields, collecting the freshest blooms, humming melodies that only the wind could understand. One day, during the village's annual summer festival, a young man arrived, a painter named Lucian. He had traveled across the country searching for inspiration, carrying nothing but a worn leather satchel and a heart full of longing. The moment he stepped into Alara's shop, time seemed to still. She stood there arranging a bouquet of wildflowers, her hands delicately dancing among the petals. Lucian couldn't look away. "The way you arrange those flowers," he said softly, "is like painting with scent and color." Alara looked up, surprised. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, not love at first sight, but recognition, as if they had met in another life. Over the following weeks, Lucien visited Petals and Dreams every morning. He claimed it was for the lavender, but it was clear it was for Alara. They spent their afternoons together. She showed him hidden corners of the village, and he taught her how to see the world like a painter, in light, in shadows, in the spaces between colors. One evening, under a sky streaked with gold and rose, Lucien brought Alara to a secluded hilltop where he had set up a canvas. "I've been working on something," he told her nervously. When she pulled back the cloth, Alara gasped. It was a painting, not just of her face, but of her soul. There she was among the lavender, sunlight in her hair, eyes full of dreams. She touched the canvas with trembling fingers. "No one has ever seen me like this," she whispered. "That's because no one has ever looked closely enough," Lucien replied. Their love blossomed slowly, gently, like lavender in spring. He painted her laughter, her quiet tears, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when nervous. She wrote him poems folded into flower petals, left on his windowsill in the early dawn. But summer, like all seasons, faded. Lucien received an invitation from a prestigious gallery in Paris. It was everything he had worked for. The night before he was to leave, they sat beneath the stars, the scent of lavender heavy in the air. "Come with me," he said, his voice almost breaking. "We could have a life in the city. Art. Beauty. You and me." Alara smiled sadly. "My roots are here. My grandmother, the shop, the fields. This is my world." They kissed that night like it was both a beginning and an ending. Lucien left the next morning, leaving behind a canvas and half his heart. Alara watched the train disappear over the horizon, clutching a dried lavender bouquet he had painted her name into. Years passed. Alara stayed in the village. She took over Petals and Dreams completely after her grandmother passed away. She never stopped writing poems. Never stopped walking through the lavender fields at dawn. And Lucien, he became famous. His paintings traveled the world. But in every exhibition, in every city, there was always one painting that never changed, the girl in the lavender field. One rainy afternoon, a decade after they'd last spoken, a familiar figure stepped into Petals and Dreams. Alara turned, startled, the bouquet in her hands falling to the floor. Lucien smiled, older now, but with the same fire in his eyes. "I sold every painting but one," he said. "And it brought me back to the place where it all began." Tears welled in her eyes. "You came back." He nodded. "Because every color I painted led me back to you." That night, the village whispered with the scent of lavender and rain. And beneath the old oak tree by the hilltop, where wildflowers bloomed again, two souls found each other once more, not in a grand city or gallery, but in the place where hearts had once quietly touched. And this time, they stayed.